John Carter adjusted his seat and looked out the large window of the celestial Voyager. Stars streaked by as the massive ship cruised through the void between human and alien colonies. He was just a passenger, a curious human eager to see new worlds, but not someone who ever imagined doing anything heroic. His life until now had been ordinary. A quiet job in the archives of his home colony, a few close friends, and a fascination with alien technology. Traveling on a ship like this was a rare chance, and he intended to enjoy every moment. Around him, the alien passengers moved with grace and precision, their forms elegant, their expressions often unreadable. Most of them had never seen a human up close. John felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness as he noticed their strange customs. Some ate with delicate, almost ritualistic gestures. Others examined the ship's corridors with meticulous curiosity. The alien pilots were even more fascinating. They were seated at the bridge, calm, efficient, their eyes scanning multiple holographic displays at once. They were professionals, trained to handle any situation in space, and John had heard stories about their species. Proud, skilled, and unflinchingly precise. Humans like him were considered fragile and inexperienced, mere passengers to be carried safely from point A to point B. The journey started smoothly. The hum of the engines was soothing, the cabin lights dimmed to a comfortable glow, and John leaned back thinking he could finally relax. He watched the displays near his seat. The ship's AI monitored every system, from life support to engine power, and John found himself curious about how it all worked. Even though he had no technical training, he could sense patterns in the blinking lights and small fluctuations in the power outputs. He wasn't the kind to tinker, but his mind enjoyed observing, analyzing, and sometimes noticing things that others missed. During the first few hours, nothing happened. The aliens around him spoke in quiet tones, discussing destinations, trade, and cultural differences. A few glanced at John, curious about the human's quiet presence, but none approached him. That suited John fine. He preferred to watch, to think, and to let the aliens assume he was harmless. Then, subtle anomalies began. The ship's navigation display flickered for a fraction of a second, too fast for most passengers to notice. The vibration of the engines shifted slightly, an irregular thrum beneath his feet. John's attention sharpened. He wasn't sure why, but something in the system felt off. He leaned forward, peering at the holographic interface on the side of his seat. The displays were detailed, showing energy flows, engine efficiency, and route calculations. Most passengers would not understand a single symbol. John didn't fully understand them either. But patterns spoke to him in a way they did not to the aliens. The power spikes, the minor discrepancies in navigation, and the subtle shift in the AI's routine suggestions. He scribbled notes in a small notebook he had brought. Not technical formulas, not complex calculations, but observations in simple words. Engine surge at T-Poievtain, minor spike in left thruster. AI rerouting unusual. It was the kind of recording no one else would notice, but it gave him a sense of control, a way to understand what the ship was doing. The alien pilots were aware of the anomalies too. They discussed the issues in low, precise tones over the ship's internal comms. They were confident, yet John could sense a tension beneath their calm. Something about the irregularities bothered them. He couldn't hear everything. They spoke quickly, their words sharp and deliberate, but he could tell that even they had never seen a sequence of malfunctions like this. Hours passed. John continued to observe quietly, noting minor discrepancies and drawing small sketches of the ship's systems. He had no plan to interfere. He was just a passenger, yet the more he watched, the more he realized that the ship's AI, while sophisticated, was acting in ways that didn't make sense. It was rerouting power incorrectly, suggesting minor adjustments that would normally be harmless but combined could lead to serious instability. John's heart rate quickened slightly. Then it happened. A sharp jolt ran through the celestial Voyager. Passengers gasped as lights flickered and alarms blared. John was thrown slightly against his seatbelt but caught himself. Around him, aliens reacted quickly, but there was an edge of surprise in their precision. The main engines had failed. Completely. The ship shuddered as the gravity stabilization adjusted violently. People screamed, clutching their seats, while some of the alien passengers froze in shock. The pilots at the bridge shouted commands, their voices sharp, commanding yet tinged with urgency. John's mind raced. He felt no fear, only clarity. He had noticed this pattern before. He understood in a strange, intuitive way what the AI was trying to do and where it had failed. He leaned toward the nearest communication panel and with a calm voice he said, "You need to bypass the main energy reroute. Divert auxiliary thrusters through the lower manifolds, not the AI channels." The alien pilots froze. One of them turned, wide-eyed, looking at him. "Human, that is impossible. You cannot understand the system in the middle of failure." John shrugged, keeping his tone calm. "I don't fully understand it, but I see where the pattern breaks. It's basic logic. The AI is overloading the main channels. Use the manual override." They hesitated. Their pride made them resist at first, but time was slipping. The ship was drifting dangerously close to a dense asteroid field, each rock potentially tearing through the hull. Every second mattered. Finally, the lead pilot gave a sharp nod. "We follow your instructions, human. If this fails, it will be your responsibility." John's hands moved over the panel, pointing at sections and suggesting precise sequences. He didn't press buttons, he guided, instructed, and predicted. The alien pilots, reluctantly impressed, executed his commands. Sparks flew. Warning lights blinked in a frenzy. The ship groaned, bending the laws of engineering as if resisting survival. Passengers held their breath. Some looked at John as if he were a magician. Most didn't understand what he was saying or why the aliens were listening, but they felt the tension in the air. Every person on board seemed to sense that something extraordinary was happening. Minutes passed like hours. The ship twisted and shook, moving perilously close to the asteroid field. John's calm focus never wavered. He noticed a pattern in the auxiliary thrusters. Small surges of power he could redirect. "Now 3 units left, 2 right, counteract the spin," he muttered quietly, almost to himself. The lead alien pilot glanced at him, incredulous. "You are controlling this with your mind? Or intuition? Humans cannot—" His words trailed off as he realized that John's guidance was working. Slowly, the ship's spin began to stabilize. Alarms still blared, sparks flew, but the trajectory shifted. The asteroids, massive and deadly, came closer. But the celestial Voyager started to glide past them, narrowly avoiding catastrophe. The alien pilots exchanged astonished looks. John didn't smile. He didn't feel pride. He only focused on the next step, the small adjustments needed to fully regain control. The ship continued to shudder, and the main engines remained offline. Yet with his guidance, the auxiliary thrusters took over enough to maintain a steady course, enough to keep the ship from smashing into the field. A voice from the passenger deck called out, "Is it safe?" John glanced toward the intercom. "Not yet," he said simply. "But we're stabilizing," the aliens whispered among themselves, still unable to comprehend fully. Their species valued skill above all else, and they had never seen a human act with such calm precision under extreme pressure. John's every suggestion, every observation saved the ship by inches, by microseconds, yet the effect was monumental. Finally, the last major tremor passed. The ship leveled slightly. The passengers cheered, though some still trembled. The alien pilots, faces pale, looked at John with newfound respect, tinged with disbelief. "Human, you—" one whispered. John shook his head, returning to his seat as if nothing had happened. "I just noticed something no one else did," he said quietly. "That's all." The ship was still damaged. The main engines were offline, and the AI continued to act unpredictably. John knew this was not over. The next challenge would be to get the celestial Voyager to the nearest safe colony, without fully functional engines, navigating through the remnants of the asteroid field and damaged systems. Yet for the first time, the alien pilots regarded him not as a fragile human passenger, but as someone who could think beyond standard protocols, someone capable of extraordinary problem-solving. The passengers murmured about the human who saved them. Some whispered, some stared in awe. John returned to quietly observing the ship's displays. He noted small anomalies, minor glitches he had not yet mentioned. The alien pilots hovered nearby, still hesitant to speak directly to him, but clearly waiting for his input. Hours would pass before the full crisis ended. The ship needed repairs, adjustments, and careful navigation. Yet in those tense, dangerous moments, John had changed something in the aliens' perception. Humans were not weak. Humans could think, adapt, and survive in ways even advanced alien species could not always predict. The story of the quiet human passenger had begun. As the celestial Voyager drifted slowly through space, John quietly wrote in his notebook, "Observation, systems failing." Predictable patterns can be overridden with logic and intuition. Humans capable of rapid problem-solving. The celestial Voyager drifted through space, its engines still offline, but the immediate danger of the asteroid field behind them. The passengers were still tense, some whispering, some staring out the windows at the infinite stars trying to calm their racing hearts. John Carter remained seated, calm and observant, his eyes scanning the holographic displays around him. He knew the crisis wasn't over. The ship was damaged and the AI still acted unpredictably. The alien pilots hovered near the bridge, their eyes darting to John now and then. Pride and caution waged a battle on their faces. They had survived the immediate catastrophe thanks to his guidance, but they were still unsure of the humans' full capabilities. They didn't understand how someone so ordinary-looking could remain calm in a situation that would terrify most of their species. John stood slowly, moving toward the bridge. "We need to stabilize life support and engine cooling," he said simply. "If the main engines remain offline for too long, systems will fail completely." The lead alien pilot, a tall figure with pale blue skin and angular features, narrowed his eyes. "Human, your understanding is unusual. We have trained for cycles like this for centuries. Why do you see what we do not?" John shrugged lightly. "I just look at patterns. Things repeat in predictable ways. You are following the AI's standard protocols, but it cannot think beyond its programming. Sometimes human logic works better." The alien blinked slowly, a sign of respect in their culture. "Then lead if you can." John nodded, crouching in front of a manual override panel. He studied the schematics of the damaged engine cores, noting areas where heat was building dangerously and where electrical circuits had overloaded. "We will use the auxiliary engines to provide thrust, but we need to redistribute power gradually. The AI cannot handle this, so we bypass it completely." The aliens followed his instructions, hesitating only briefly before acting. Sparks flew from the panels as circuits hummed with redirected power. Alarms blared, but John remained steady, guiding them step by step. He instructed them to throttle auxiliary engines in sequence, to redirect cooling flows to prevent overheating, and to monitor the energy distribution manually. Minutes passed, but each one felt like an eternity. The ship shuddered violently several times, throwing crew and passengers against their restraints. But slowly, the spin from the previous crisis stopped completely. The celestial Voyager began to glide steadily again, a testament to John's precision. Passengers began to murmur. Some pointed at him, whispering about the human who seemed unshakable, guiding the ship through impossible odds. Children clung to their parents wide-eyed, sensing that they had just witnessed something extraordinary. "Now, we need to bring the main engines back online," John said. "We cannot leave the ship running solely on auxiliary power. It will not last long enough to reach the nearest colony." The alien pilots exchanged worried glances. The main engines had failed in a way their species had never seen before. Restarting them manually was risky. If one mistake occurred, it could destroy the ship entirely. John studied the schematics carefully. There is a sequence the AI will not attempt because it exceeds its programmed safety limits. "We will do it manually. Trust me, it will work." The lead pilot hesitated, pride warring with practicality. After a tense moment, he nodded. "We follow your command, human. If we fail, it will be on you." John gave a small, reassuring smile. "Then let's not fail." He directed the pilots, explaining each step in simple terms, guiding them through the delicate adjustments of power conduits and energy flows. Sparks shot from panels and warning sirens echoed, but he remained calm. His voice was steady, his instructions clear, even as the ship groaned under the strain. As they worked, the ship passed near a small debris field, fragments of old satellites and wrecked ships floating silently. John's mind calculated trajectories, warning the pilots of potential collisions. The aliens moved quickly to adjust the auxiliary thrusters, narrowly avoiding impact. Minutes stretched. Sweat formed on the brows of the alien crew, their focus intense. But slowly, the hum of the main engines returned. Power levels stabilized. The ship's AI, confused at first by the human's override, began to function properly again, assisting rather than hindering. The bridge was silent for a moment. Then the lead pilot exhaled deeply, a long, trembling sound of relief. "Human, you have done what we could not. Even our species would have failed." John shrugged. "I only noticed what the AI couldn't see, patterns, logic, that's all." The alien crew looked at him with awe. For centuries, their people had valued skill and precision above all else. Yet here was a human, an ordinary passenger who had demonstrated both in ways they could not fully comprehend. Respect replaced skepticism. Admiration replaced disbelief. Passengers slowly left their seats, some approaching the bridge, others applauding softly. Alien families whispered, sharing the story of the human who had saved them. John returned to his seat, quietly observing, making sure the ship was fully stable. The lead pilot, still in shock, approached him. "Human, you have changed how we see your species. Humans are capable of more than we believed." John smiled faintly. "Maybe we just think differently. Sometimes thinking differently helps." The aliens looked at him with new eyes. Their species had faced countless crises. Yet this human had outthought them, saved them, and done so with a calm they rarely saw in any being. They realized that humans were not just passengers or observers. They could be leaders, thinkers, problem solvers in extreme conditions. The celestial Voyager now moved steadily, engines humming, systems stable. The passengers were exhausted, yet they were alive. Children peeked from behind their parents, trying to see the human who had guided them through near destruction. Elderly aliens nodded in quiet respect, while young crew members whispered to each other about the remarkable courage and intelligence of John Carter. Hours later, the ship approached the nearest safe colony. Emergency protocols guided them gently to docking, and the passengers clapped as the ship settled on the platform. The alien pilots exchanged glances, still in awe of the human who had saved them. They had trained for centuries, mastered technology that could control entire star systems, and yet they had been outmaneuvered by someone they considered fragile. John disembarked quietly. He did not expect accolades or rewards. He was a passenger after all, and he had only done what seemed logical in the moment. Yet, as he stepped onto solid ground, he noticed something remarkable. The aliens who had once regarded him as ordinary now approached him with respect, even reverence. The lead pilot handed him a small device, a token of their acknowledgement. "Human, you are welcome on any ship of our fleet. Your actions today, we will remember." John nodded, accepting the device with quiet humility. "I was just a passenger. But thank you." Even as he walked through the colony, passengers and crew whispered about the human who had saved the celestial Voyager. Children told stories to each other. Aliens shared the tale with their friends, and the incident would be remembered in records for years to come. For John, life returned to normal, or as normal as life could be after surviving what he had survived. Yet he carried with him a quiet pride. Humans could be ordinary, unnoticed, and underestimated, but when circumstances demanded it, they could rise to challenges that no one expected, think in ways no machine could predict, and achieve the impossible. As the stars glimmered in the night sky above the colony, John Carter looked up and smiled faintly. He was still just a human, still just a passenger, but he had proven something extraordinary, that humanity, in its calm, clever, and courageous way, could shine even in the darkest reaches of space. The story of the human who saved the celestial Voyager spread across colonies and fleets. Some said it was luck, others said it was instinct, but all agreed on one thing. Humans were far more capable than they appeared, and the alien pilots, who had once doubted them, now carried a deep respect for the species that could survive, adapt, and even lead when circumstances demanded it. For John, the adventure was over, for now, but in the hearts of every passenger and crew member, the memory of that quiet human who had saved them would linger forever. And somewhere deep in the cosmos, ships would continue to travel, passengers would continue to wonder about the stars, and humans, underestimated and ordinary, would continue to surprise the universe.